Hello my dear YouTuber friends, and I do hope you're all keeping well. Welcome to this new video. Now the Microsoft Flight Sim developer September stream has pretty much just about finished at the time of me recording this video. I think it's finished around 15 to 20 minutes ago. And they gave us a whole heap of new information for the upcoming Flight Sim 2024. Now this stream was streamed live on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. So a slightly different stream format. And it was mainly an answer and question stream. So they were taking questions from the community, from me and you. I actually got one of my questions on screen, which I'm chuffed about. Just a small thing, but it's nice to see that they do care. And they took a whole load of questions, and poor Jane was running around all over the place trying to get all these questions together and answered. So in this video, I'm going to share some of the more interesting questions and answers that were shown on the stream. And they also gave us some information about an upcoming World Update 19. I'll be talking about that in this video also. Listen, there's a lot to get through, and let's not dilly-dally. Let's get on with this video. So let's go over a few of these answers and questions. Like I said, they were broken down into different sections. Let's do the technical questions first. I'm showing you on screen. Let me just zoom out a bit so I can fit all that in. Right, well, it talks about, let's go over a couple of things there. These 64GB of RAM, why is that ideal? Typically, you know, games and apps, they typically maximum use around 32, I believe, unless you're doing productivity programs. And basically, the answer they gave there, if you want to throw everything at max, which I'm not doing, ultra rather, 4K, and you want to do streaming and recording so you don't get any hiccups or stutters, that's why they're saying 64GB is ideal. If you're flying in VR with a high-end VR headset, I'd imagine the 64GB of RAM would come in useful if you're going to be flying in high ultra settings, that type of thing. So I wouldn't worry. The person answering that question said that he was actually running Flight Sim 2024 next to him, and he had a 32GB system and it was running fine. I've got 32GB, I'm not too worried about that. Xbox. Now, they mentioned that the target frames for Xbox will be 1080p obviously on the Series S, which it is at the moment, I think, with Flight Sim 2020, and 4K for the Series X, both hitting a frame rate of 30 frames per second. About the optimizations, black screen of death, that type of thing with Xbox, there is a question there, you know, is it going to be better optimized for the new sim? And they were saying, yeah, they've got cold optimizations across the board, especially for Xbox. So that they're actually able to use something called virtual memory. I didn't know Xbox had the virtual memory. I think they mentioned 2GB of extra memory they can use there, so you should get better stability, I imagine, on both the Series S and X, but time will tell. Another one they answered there, I'm just going to put something else on screen as well. These are the sort of minimum recommended and ideal specs. A question was asked, what kind of resolutions would be PC recommended and what resolutions will be ideal? I knew this. 1440p high for recommended specs. I'm just above recommended specs, so I should be okay for 1440p, and that's my target. I just need to get hold of a 1440p monitor now. And ideal, of course, 4K with those specs. Anyway, you're going to no doubt be able to fly in 4K. So there you go, that's just some of the technical questions answered. If I'm missing anything, I'm linking their live stream down below in the description. Let me just slow my aircraft down a bit. so you can go and watch the whole of the live stream if you want to catch up on other questions that were asked there. I'm just picking up on some of the more interesting ones that I found. Now, this is an interesting one, in peripheral and settings. Oh dear people, I think people were fearing this. There was a question asked, will my bindings from Flight Sim 2020 carry across to Flight Sim 2024? I was hoping they would, but they're saying no. You're going to have to, you get default bindings with your controller setup, so whatever you're using, Velocity 1 flight yoke, flight stick, XPC yoke, Boeing yoke, whatever. You get the default profiles, no doubt, but your bindings that you've set up will not carry across. So either take a note of them in Flight Sim 2020. I'm going to be busy. I shall create new profile bindings, controller binding. There's going to be new people coming to the sim as well for many of the popular controllers. So don't worry too much about that. Just take a note of what you have set up in Flight Sim 2020. And I knew this one. I'll link a video I did previously about this topic down below in the description. All controllers currently that work in Flight Sim 2020 should work with Flight Sim 2024. I knew it just because of the sort of nature of it. It's a simulator, and all controllers worked on Flight Sim 2020 PC version. Every controller, every single one I've tried has worked to some extent. Some with no profiles, they're not supported, but you can set up your own buttons. But yeah, everything should work, so that's good news. Okay, and on to a new topic and heading general questions. So this is a new topic. And there was a question there, will there be a public beta? I was doubting that, and they're saying no. A public beta is not going to happen. They did mention an alpha, which should be, I believe they said, late October. So, you know, a couple of weeks before the sim launches. I've not been invited to that as of yet, and I don't know if I will be. Asobo, if you're watching this, my viewers would greatly appreciate if I could get invited for that. I'm beefing up myself here, I'll greatly appreciate it. But I think my viewers would as well. There's a lot of settings I could test there. I've got a lot of different controllers. That's generally the sort of bread and butter of my channel, really, about setting up controllers. So, and you know, I can test sort of Xbox S performance if that's possible as well for my viewers again. So yeah, well, keep your fingers crossed that maybe at least one or two of us that you know will get invited for that, so we can get your questions, answers and concerns a little bit ahead of time. On to a new topic. It's a marketplace and ownership. You know what, people? I got my question on screen. I can see it's my question because it's exactly the same as I wrote it, and dumb old Hodgson probably confused the heck out of them. It's the YouTube, you know, you can't see what you're writing previously, and I didn't realise that I put Flight Sim 2020. It was all meant to say Flight Sim 2024. It's basically asking about compatibility between Steam and the store version. If I bought off the store on Flight Sim 2024, can I use those purchases on Steam? You can't currently in Flight Sim 2020. I can attest to that. I've tried it, people. It doesn't work. All my purchases from Flight Sim 2020 on the store do not work on Steam and vice versa. Now, it's interesting because Jorg was saying, no, they don't speak to each other. They moved on. Then he went, oh, let's go back on that one. And I think he reread it, and I think he reread it correctly, the way I meant to type it. He's saying, yeah, it's controlled by a certain program, and he said, yes, you should be able to use your purchases. Don't take my word on that, don't take his word, because another person on the panel was a bit unsure about that. I'm not sure about it. I'm going to be testing both. I'll be getting the Game Pass version to begin with, just to test things, because I've got the Series S as well, so I can test both systems there. And if my add-ons are working with that, we know it's compatible. I would hold off on that unless I get invited for the early alpha. Maybe it's in that. So yeah, it's great to get one of my questions up, but it wasn't quite clear whether Store and Steam will be compatible in Flight Sim 2024. I'm not convinced from their answers. Maybe they'll come back to that in a future video. Now, I think I'm going to leave it there for the answers and questions. They did show off World Update 19. I'll put some information on screen for you there. It's Brazil, Guyana, and a couple of other places. And they showed a few screenshots. I'm going to show you a few. I'll let them cycle through on screen. That's going to be on the 3rd of December 2024, so after Flight Sim 2024 releases. You get World Update 19. I assume that's for both Flight Sim 2024 and Flight Sim 2020. I assume. Somebody corrects me if I'm wrong there. And there you go, those are the questions that the answers and questions that I wanted to bring up in this video. If you have other answers and questions that they answered, so other questions that they answered in the stream, that you want to take a note of, that you think we should all be aware of, put them down in the comments. And do go and watch their stream through. It's linked below in the description. Good stuff, people, isn't it? Well, do let me know your thoughts on this video. Give it a like if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. And I'll see you soon.